Hello, and thank you for your time today. This presentation, called Signs of the Times, is intended to provide information and education to parents and guardians of students in our Waukesha One schools. The first stop on our journey today is expectations at school. In this, we focus on the daily expectations of students, day-to-day use of the device, and general rules while at school. The first expectation we have of our students is that the device comes to school charged and it is present each day. The device is going to become an important part of a student's learning environment. As a result of that, a student who comes to class without their iPad or without having it charged is very much like a student who came to class without their materials, a writing utensil, or their textbook before iPads were available. So it's very important that students come to school with those each day. Additionally, it's important for parents to understand that if they're interested in purchasing an additional charger, they can do so. One charger will be provided and the charging cable to each family. Additional chargers can be purchased at local stores if families believe this is something they would be interested in. The next guideline is this. Appropriate use guidelines will be enforced and should be followed closely. Each student and a parent or guardian signed the appropriate use guidelines when the iPad was distributed. You should be aware of what is on that sheet, and you should also, if interested, request an additional copy of it. You could do this through somebody at your local school. We want parents to understand that these devices belong to the school district of Waukesha. While we encourage you to use them, to personalize them, and to make them a part of your son or daughter's learning experience, these devices can be monitored and collected while at school. It's important to understand that this means that they can be monitored remotely. Remote monitoring can consist of viewing the apps that are on that iPad, seeing what its internet search history has been, determining if it has been charged recently, and gathering a bit of other information as necessary. It is important to note, though, that the camera on these devices cannot be accessed or monitored by the district staff. These devices can be searched at random. They can be collected and maintained by district staff as well as the district staff member sees fit. The next topic is apps for school. Your son or daughter has been issued a set of core apps through the self-service app on your iPad. These are apps that are provided in order to provide all students and staff members a common baseline of apps by which they can plan their learning activities. Additional apps that a teacher may wish to use or may recommend to students in the classroom should not be required, and parents and guardians should have sufficient time to review the app prior to installing it on the device. Additionally, these apps should have no additional cost associated with them. And that pretty much covers the basic expectations while at school. I'll just note that these tools are intended for academic purposes, and anything outside of the use of academic purposes is a violation of the iPad use guidelines. Our next stop is customizing the iPad. We are in a self-management model, which means we entrust the management of the device to our students and their families. We believe this honors the true power and purpose of providing these devices to students. When we customize the iPad, it provides options for the students to use the iPad for more functional and fun use. The school district will be providing cases. These cases are sufficient for most wear and tear protection. However, we understand that each family knows his or her son or daughter better and may require additional protection. Each family will determine if a more protective case is needed, and in making this decision, will incur whatever cost associated with purchasing that new case. It is not a requirement of the School District of Waukesha to purchase an additional case. The one provided is sufficient. We hear from people that they are concerned about on-screen keyboarding. This means using the keyboard on the iPad to type papers, emails, and other word process documents. In our research of other one-to-one rollouts, on-screen keyboarding was a sufficient way for many of our young people to word process documents as needed for academic purposes. However, you know your son or daughter better than anybody. If you feel that there need to be additional options for keyboarding, you are certainly welcome to make that decision. Some possible options that exist are purchasing a case that has a built-in keyboard, such as the one seen at lower left here. We also have an option in which you can purchase a USB keyboard and a $40 adapter and connect them together. There are many options, but understand that if you wish to explore these options, it is at your own cost. Our next stop is personalizing app selection. We want you to understand that as a family, you need to make decisions that are best for you in a self-managed model. That means that you can make the decision to purchase apps, free or pay for, that will work for your son or daughter in their academic pursuits. One of the reasons that we went with the iPad as a district was because of the wide variety of tools and applications that can assist our students regardless of their needs or interests. To truly put the power of that personalization into effect, we encourage families to explore what apps will work best for them. We want you to be aware, though, that any fees incurred as a result of purchasing applications not specified by the district will be solely the responsibility of the family. In addition to that, though, the apps that are purchased on your Apple ID, which is managed by the family, are the property of the family and can be used on other Apple devices if the family has them, or in the future on Apple devices as you and your family see fit. These apps are not the property of the School District of Waukesha. In selecting personalized apps that work best for your son or daughter, please keep in mind that apps should be academically focused and should not provide a distraction while at school. Our next destination is damage and responsibility. As a district, we certainly realize that from time to time bad things can happen, and this is an overview of the reporting and the repair process and the families' and students' responsibilities in that process. It's important to understand that students should return damaged devices to school. No matter the severity of the damage, it's important to report it to a staff member and let them make the decision as to how it should be repaired. Each school should have an assigned staff member, and you should ask your local teachers or administrators who that staff member is in your building. We've designed a return to learning system in which the student can return the original device to school quickly, borrow a loaner device so that they can return to learning as quickly as possible, and then when the damaged device is repaired and returned to the school, that student will swap the loaner device for their original device. In this way, we try to avoid downtime for learners, as we believe more and more learning opportunities will become dependent upon the use of the iPad. In this system, it's important to remember, though, that backup of information is the responsibility of the family and the student. We have many opportunities to back up using resources like Google Drive, iCloud, Dropbox, and other options, but it's the responsibility of the student to make sure their work is backed up so that in the case of damage, they are not without their critical educational work. Of course, there is a financial side to damage that we must discuss. Device damage will incur charges to the student and or the family. We have developed a fee schedule that rewards low incident students with a smaller damage repair fee. For a first offense in which repair must be done to the iPad, the family will be assessed a $30 fee. For a second offense, the family will be assessed a $60 fee. Each additional offense over the life of that loaned device will incur a $100 repair fee. These fees will be assessed to families through the same process as school fees are presently assessed, and payment can be made in the same way as other school fees. In this fee schedule, we must talk about the difference between theft and loss. Our insurance plan indicates that theft is covered by insurance at no cost to the student or their family. In the event that a device is stolen, families must file a police report and the family must provide a copy to the assigned staff member. School staff will not file this police report for families. It is the responsibility of the student and/or the family to be certain to get this police report and to make sure it is on file with the district. Without a police report on file, the item is considered lost by the district. This police report will be the documentation the district needs to file an insurance claim. Be aware that falsified police reports for stolen goods is illegal and can also lead to insurance fraud. If you are uncertain if the device was considered stolen or lost, please contact a district staff member at your building and we will assist you in the process. However, it is important to note that if a device is stolen, one of the first steps that should be taken is notifying somebody at the school so we can use our background monitoring software to possibly track the device. Time is precious, and the sooner somebody is notified of theft or loss, the sooner we can begin tracing it and the more likely it is to be located. This means, though, that loss is not covered by insurance. If a device is lost and a police report cannot be filed as a result, families will be assessed the full replacement cost of the device. In the event that a device is lost, please notify your building staff member who is assigned to assist with iPad issues. Finally, let's talk about expectations at home. As a Waukesha One family, your son or daughter has the privilege of bringing these devices home in order to assist them with their academic work. This is truly the new face of learning in the 21st century, and it will prepare our young people for a highly connected, collaborative, and creative future of work. We certainly realize that as these devices come home, this introduces a new set of responsibilities and potential issues that could take place while the student is at home. This section is intended to provide parents with a sense of what can be done to keep an eye on the device, to be aware of what is being done with that device, and to maintain some control as to when the device is used and what it is used for. Some families may be interested in monitoring internet use at home. While district staff will not be available to assist with setting up or monitoring at home, we do have some solutions that may be valuable to you. If you have an internet router at home, many of them come with monitoring software and options built in. We would encourage you to utilize them. Another option is called OpenDNS. It allows you to set up internet filters on home networks, and services such as OpenDNS are free to use. But any system that you have which will allow you to monitor your students' use at home and internet history would be valuable. A key point that we want all Waukesha One families to remember is that the Apple ID is truly the key to knowing what is on the device and to installing apps and media on that device. We encourage all parents and guardians to maintain control of the Apple ID passwords. Today, in registering your device, you need an Apple ID. This includes a username and a password. Are you presently aware of what the username and password is on your son or daughter's iPad? If not, this would be an excellent conversation to have with your child. But what's the benefit of knowing the Apple ID password? Well, this is how you really check in on the device activity. Here, you can see apps purchased. You can locate the device if it's lost using Find My iPhone, which we encourage all families to enable. And really, sometimes the possibility for monitoring is just the greatest deterrent. We encourage parents to check in on the Apple ID regularly. Log in to iCloud.com and use the username and password to possibly look at work samples, internet history, favorites, or a wide variety of other information. Some parents may choose to share the Apple ID password with their son or daughter. Others may choose to keep it secret or to change it so that they only know the Apple ID password. This is certainly your right and privilege as a parent or guardian, and as a district, we respect whatever decision you make. Even if you share the Apple ID password with your son or daughter, and allow them to install and update apps as necessary. We encourage you to sit down and talk with them from time to time about the apps and media that is present on their iPad, which is intended for academic purposes. Keep in mind the iPad use guidelines. This is a great time to mention that an iPad and other Apple devices can have multiple Apple IDs installed on it at any given time. If you monitor closely the apps and media that is installed using the Apple ID password you have set up with your son or daughter, and apps or media that you have not or would not approve of are appearing, one possibility is that there's a second Apple ID that is registered or being used on the device. This is something that does have to be intentional. In the event that a second Apple ID is being used on the device, that Apple ID can be deleted in the iPad's general settings area. This, of course, leads us to the conversation of restrictions on the iPad. We do encourage parents to restrict the device as you see fit. There are many restrictions that are possible on the iPad. Restrictions that can do such things as restrict internet use, restrict app and media installation, as well as a wide variety of other options. If you choose to set parental controls or restrictions on the iPad, we encourage you to talk to your son or daughter about the restrictions you have set, as your restrictions may cause them an inability to use certain features of the iPad, which might be beneficial to them while at school. Again, this is certainly your right and privilege as a parent, but the primary user of the iPad, the student, should at least be aware of the restrictions that are in place. In selecting parental controls and restrictions, you will need to choose a password. In choosing the password, please understand that it is critical that you do not forget this information. If restrictions have been set on an iPad and the password is forgotten, the only remedy is to erase and restart the iPad from fresh. While your Apple ID does maintain a history of all of the apps and media you have purchased, and they can be reinstalled, any work which your son or daughter has on the device for school purposes could be lost. Again, we encourage students to back up their work regularly. The last topic is device check-in and control at home. We are all increasingly aware of the amount of screen time that our young people are spending on devices. The introduction of an iPad into our learning environments will contribute to the amount of time that students are interacting with devices and are online. While we are aware of this, we also understand that societal forces and the world of work that many of us presently live in and that our students will live in the future require our young people to learn to use these devices for productive, academic, and professional pursuits. As educators, we still greatly value face-to-face communication and interaction, and we believe it is a critical component to preparing our young people for a happy, healthy, and successful life ahead. At school, they will have plenty of opportunity to interact and communicate with others, despite the fact that they will have a device available to them to utilize for their academic work. At home, we encourage parents and guardians to consider what they feel an appropriate balance between screen time and personal communication is as well. We enlist your support in being certain that students have a happy, healthy, well-rounded experience at home as well. Some suggestions that we offer, but certainly do not require, follow. We encourage regular check-ins with your son or daughter in order to discuss how they are using their device, what is on their device, and any other concerns that we may have about their interactions with and while using that device. Perhaps you may want to institute some rules at home, such as device turn-in before bed. We know that many young people utilize the portability of their device to keep late hours and communicate with friends electronically via the device. Perhaps you may wish to collect that device at a certain time each night to be certain that our young people are getting a healthy night's sleep and are not distracted as a result of access to the device. Another rule that is commonly used in one-to-one rollouts is the suggestion that the device be used in common areas only. While at school, this may mean any place where others see you using and interacting with the device. At home, this could mean places where a parent or guardian can observe the student using the device. Again, monitoring can be a great deterrent for behavior that a parent or guardian may find unbecoming of their son or daughter. Providing yourself with the peace of mind that you know what is going on with the device and how your son or daughter is utilizing it is critical. We encourage parents to step up and step in as it relates to your son or daughter's use of the device. As we have stated, the device will become increasingly important in their academic pursuits. This does not mean, though, that the parent or guardian should feel unable to place limitations or restrictions on the use of the device in general, and especially while at home. This is new territory for all of us, and as the adults in these young people's lives, we need to make decisions that make sense for us and that support our goals for them, for ourselves, for our families, and for our homes. If you have questions or concerns, feel free to contact any members of the Instructional Technologies team in the School District of Waukesha, or to talk to support personnel at your building. Thank you so much for your time and attention. The introduction of these devices is a big change for everybody, staff, students, and families. As we collectively work to prepare our young people for the life that is ahead of them, we must work together to provide consistency, structure, opportunity, and support for one another and for our children. As always, if you have questions or concerns, we encourage any comments, emails, or phone calls. Thank you again for your time.